This is one of the sort of saddest things about the world is I often think, this is kind of getting a little philosophical, but I'm intrigued by the concept of what I would call complicity with evil, right? Because unfortunately, it's impossible for any of us, just by paying taxes, just by living, just by buying things, there's a degree of complicity with things that we all have moral and ethical issues with, right? We all have smartphones, right? Where is the mining of some of the materials that are used for smartphones, coltan, etc. Like everything you buy, right? You're buying something from you're buying Nike shoes,
or the
right?
Foxconn factory.
You're buying electronics, right? Like whatever you're buying. There is somewhere down the line, most likely something you have an ethical issue with. Factory farming, like everything, even just paying taxes, even the way your own government spends money, right? You pay your taxes, and then they go and start some foreign war that you are completely opposed to, whether it was, you know, Iraq in our lifetime, like so all these military interventions, and it's just messy. It happens on a governmental level, it happens on an individual level, and so on. And I'm a big fan of doing my best to try to reduce what I'd consider my complicity with evil. It's actually part of a reason why I tend to lean more libertarian on many things, because I'm like, man, I don't want it's one thing taxing me, and those taxes are going towards schooling or helping homeless people or helping widows or so on. It's another thing taxing me, and then you go and you spend that money on some crap that I totally disagree with and have no say in. So I think all of this stuff is very messy, and it's confusing because we know what the CCP is up to. You've already talked about, they're literally got concentration camps, literally, right? Saudi Arabia has its sins. Russia, every country has its sins.
And America has
Western
its sins.
countries have their sins too, but they're all working. It's so complicated. That's the thing with me. So when I see stuff like this, I'm kind of like, well, you know, I think each individual should make their choice. I think if Tiger Woods is like, you know what, I have an ethical issue with this. The same thing happened, by the way, I know, because they did the Crown Jewel WWE events in Saudi Arabia over the last couple of years, and some of the wrestlers were like, you know what, I don't want to participate in this event in Saudi Arabia. I have some kind of ethical issue with this. I'm going to step aside for this one. Other wrestlers were like, you know what, some of them thought completely differently. Some were like, you know what, actually this is an opportunity to look, the country is becoming, the idea of even having a WWE event in Saudi Arabia 10 years ago was absurd. It wouldn't have happened. So their country is actually liberalizing and opening up in various ways. And they're like, okay, this is an opportunity to use our talents to help open things up. And then later down the line, you know, it's going to be a process. And by the way, I think people also often forget one more thing. My brain is jumping around everywhere because it's such an interesting topic to me. Is also, I think people also forget that countries take time to get to places. Where was the USA in 1922? Right? Where was the USA even?
In the middle of the Great Depression.
Yeah, but I mean, from a social standpoint, you had the freaking millions of KKK members running around, people getting lynched. Like 100 years, like stuff was bad. Like countries take time. Like history's dirty, history's messy, it's violent, it's nasty. You've had genocides, you've had wars, all of this, and countries change and they progress. And things are not stagnant. Where things are right now is not where they'll be in the future. So I do think that many Westerners and Western countries, despite all their own sins, which I won't even get into, oftentimes they're like, okay, well, we're here right now in 2022. I think super woke people especially have this problem. And so we want to like snap our fingers and expect everywhere else around the world, across Africa, across Asia, across the Middle East, like they should all just be like us.
Get on our level.
Just like this. And I'm like, bro, but 20 years ago, like, you know, take a topic like, I don't know, easy one, gay marriage, right? 20 years ago, your opinion and the general opinion on the same is this exact same thing the view is in Nigeria, right? So you're here now trying to like pressure these countries and push, oh, they're so backwards. Like, it's like, bro, like 20 years ago, that wasn't even the opinion here. Let's be real. So why are you like expecting, okay, well, this thing changes here, we should snap our fingers and by magic all the billions of people in the world just suddenly shift views that they've held for centuries? It's like, It's a messy one. So I've said a lot there. I've got a lot of thoughts on it, but I just think it's a complicated thing.
I would say it's actually very simple. You know, they have competition, and you know, PGA has had a monopoly for a long time, and there's never been a second league to compete against them. Look, we're in the insurance industry. Let me tell you. I wish you knew how much competition we've had every freaking day that we got to figure out a way to improve, you know. Everybody's like, well, you know, how about that podcast, this podcast, that podcast? What if this guy, what if that guy? Look, if you have a message, we started with 0 subscribers and audiences showed up because we had to get better. If you don't get an audience, you're not interesting. The audience will say it. You can try to do whatever you want to do. People can say whatever they want to say about Mr. Beast, or people can say whatever they want to say about PewDiePie or Rogan. They are interesting, and people want to hear what they have to say, and there's competition. Today, you know how many podcasts there's today? You know how many podcasts there's today worldwide?
Million.
400 million podcasts today. Okay?
400 million
You got, it's a massive number worldwide. In the U.S., I think, I'm sorry, in the U.S., there's 4 million podcasts. In the U.S., there's 4 million podcasts. You got 4 million podcasts to choose from. Okay,
not 400 million.
No. In U.S., the number I'm giving you is in U.S. No, U.S. 400 is an inaccurate number. In U.S., there's 4 million podcasts. Okay, how many podcasts do you got to choose from? Oh my God! Like, imagine how competitive that is. So PGA Tour's upset because there's going to be one other golf competition for you. I'm sorry, PGA. You have now somebody that you're competing against. So if they can pull it off, you know, great. Look what Dana White said. Dana White says the best thing when Jake Paul says stuff to him. You know what he says? Good. You want to pay him better? Start a league. No one is stopping you. Start a league. Go for it. If you want to start a league and compete against us and pay people better, start a league. See how you can do it. Go see how many have tried. So if Liv thinks they can do it better, and they think their method of doing this is by cutting the big checks that you got oil, and you go get a badass guy like Greg Norman who is going to be making these calls to them, all right, see how it works out. It may or may not work out. Props to Tiger for saying, yeah, I'm not taking it. And he chose his position that he chose, but you cannot make this about Saudis are linked to 9/11, because the moment you play that card, you're messing yourself up, because the game of hypocrisy is going to come back and catch up to you, man. The game of hypocrisy is not a good game to play. You can sit there and try to judge people. The moment you play the judgment game, first thing that happens is if somebody, like, you know how they say, well, do you realize what you did when you did this and you did that and you did this? All the person has to say is, I'm sorry. For everybody watching, if you ever went to high school with this guy or college with this guy, or can you please email us whatever you have on this guy? Are you okay with that, Mr. Reporter? Well, no. Okay, then listen, maybe like chill out. We all got stuff in the skeletons in a closet, and we've all made mistakes. Kind of relax, and let's compete and see who's going to get better. And then if you got a better argument, I'd live. More power to you. You don't. Trump tried to start a league, NFL. Who's the one player he picked up? Do you guys remember?
Steve Young.
Who else did he pick up? The name that now is running for Senate.
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker.
Oh, okay.
It was the biggest thing when Trump started a football league.
New Jersey Generals.
And he went and brought Herschel Walker, and Herschel Walker said no to the NFL, but he said yes to Trump. Why? Because they paid better. So is Herschel Walker is a guy that's for sale? And then he went there and he's like, you know what, Trump, you failed. I'm going to go to the NBA and to the NFL. And then, so this is not easy to do. There's a lot of XFLs out there. People have tried. ABA was out there. Julius Erving used to be part of ABA before NBA. Bunch of guys played for ABA. So we're going to find out if they can compete. Here's the truth. It's going to take a lot more than money to be able to compete against the PGA. A lot more money than that. So we'll see if they'll pull it off or not. Anyways,
it's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
It's more interesting. They're not cutting players. All the players are getting paid. They have teams. You're bringing hot young names. You're changing up the format. It's not boring old PGA Tour. They're going to cater to the young audience, and they're going to pull it off.
Yeah, listen,
they will pull this off.
You know what I like about this, Tyler? You know what I like about this?
I agree.
You look like you could be the nephew of Greg Norman, by the way. It's like, is there a relation there where you're defending them, or maybe a little bit of Saudi with your beard that you got?
No, I used to play a lot of golf, man. I'm a big fan of the sport, and I think the PGA is boring. I think it's very hypocritical of Tiger as a billion-dollar athlete to sit here and criticize these guys. Imagine you're Pat Perez on tour for 20 years. Okay, you're traveling around the country. You're paying your caddy. You're paying to ship all your stuff, and now you can go to a league where you're getting paid every event. You're the 48th last place makes 120 grand per event. Like,
I love it. That's the point. Go do it. See how you do.
I'll play.
Go do it.
Yeah,
see how you do.
Right.
See if you pull it off or not.
120 grand for coming last?
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's go.
You have to be in like the top 30 in a PGA event to make any money.